Okay. This is an open meeting of the Seward. Well, you know what? We back up here. Call meeting to order. We please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the
To
flag
the flag of the United States of America
and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. This is an open meeting of the Seward, Nebraska governing body. The city of Seward abides by the Nebraska Open Meetings Act in conducting business. A copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is displayed on the north wall of this meeting room facility as required. Disclosure of meeting recording processes is posted in the meeting room. A participant sign-in sheet is available for use by any citizen addressing the council. Presenters shall approach the podium, state their name and address for the clerk record, and are asked to limit remarks to 5 minutes. If anyone on the call wishes to comment, please message Greg directly at City of Seward on the chat, and then he can direct traffic as necessary. All remarks shall be directed to the mayor, who shall determine by whom any appropriate response shall be made. The City of Seward reserves the right to adjust the order of items on this agenda if necessary, and may elect to take action on any of the items listed. Do you want to call the roll again, or are we good?
Oh, we'll call the roll real quick.
Okay.
Schmidt.
Present.
Beck.
Here.
Wilkin.
Present.
Coulterman.
Present.
Miller.
Here.
Campreth.
Here.
Singleton.
Here.
Hendricks.
Present.
All members present.
All right. The first item this evening is the draft minutes of May 19th, 2020.
Move to approve.
Second, by Single.
Moved by Schmidt, seconded by Singleton.
Please call the roll.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Beck.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
Coulterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Campreth.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yeah.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion
All right.
approved.
All right, next three items consist of the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Singleton, seconded by Schmidt.
Correct.
Please call the roll.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Beck.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
Coulterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Campreth.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, next we have the confirmation of mayor appointments. The only one is to appoint Craig Einspar to the tree board for a 3-year term to replace Brian Flesner.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
Moved by Miller, seconded by Coulterman.
Please call the roll.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Beck.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
Coulterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Campreth.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yeah.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next item is a resolution regarding the risk of exposure to COVID-19 through the use of municipal property for sports or other recreational activities. Greg, did you want to explain that?
Yeah, and Kelly can jump in with me if we need on this one. This is a recommendation by the League of Municipalities for rolling out our recreational programming actually throughout the year, not just baseball, softball. There were some adjustments to start making this apply to all recreational activity as we continue through the process of dealing with COVID-19. Kelly and I and Adam were all on the calls in the development periodically with the league. There's input from municipalities across the state. This was developed by their legal counsels and legal counsels from all municipalities having input. Ultimately, the forms that are drafted and presented here and the waivers we'll use and everything else were ultimately drafted by Kelly and approved by him. Ultimately, this is the setup process for us to go forth and finish off getting recreational programs started. I don't know that we'll be using a lot of this for the pool. The pool will be separate, but this will be for our recreational programming. And then for the private entities in town, like Junior Jays, Softball Association, things like that, the tournament that we're talking about later tonight, this would apply to that. So I can answer any questions you have in regards to any of this.
Yeah, and just to add to that, in summary, it requires that a license agreement and if there already is a license agreement, there's an addendum to that agreement that's been prepared. And that license agreement has several requirements in it, one of which is to carry $1 million worth of insurance and to follow all of the state's rules and guidelines set forth in the latest directed health measure. And then the last requirement is that all participants sign a participants agreement, which is the waiver and release.
Hey, how do we see the collection of that agreement?
It's a requirement. Adam's already communicated to our baseball, softball teams. It's a requirement to be able to reserve the field. You have to provide us a roster and all of the signed waivers ahead of taking the field for the first time. So we already received those from a number of them that got started. That started last night because that was their designated night. So they've signed the waiver and we're ready to go with them. So
what do you need from us?
just approval of this resolution. This moves us into the license agreement portion of it too. And so, again, no specific concerns with it. Again, Kelly reviewed all these documents and made adjustments and made them Seward specific for us.
And so we would just need someone to introduce the resolution.
I'll introduce the resolution.
Okay. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2020-24. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
So moved.
Second.
I believe it was moved by Schmidt, seconded by Camprith, is what I thought I heard.
Yes,
Also note it was introduced by Coulterman, just because Bonnie's on the phone. So I'll note that as well.
Okay.
All right.
So we have a motion and a second. Please register your votes by roll call.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Wilkin,
Yes.
Coulterman,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Camprith,
Yes.
Singleton,
Yeah.
Hendricks.
She's giving the thumbs up.
I have to, let's see. Hendricks.
Yes, I'm afraid my dog's gonna freak out again. Sorry about that.
All right, we'll meet you again. All right, we're moving, motion passes.
All right. The next item is discussion and update on reopening city facilities. Greg, you want to go through that list?
Yes, we'll just give you a brief rundown, and then to kind of give the lay of the land, we will ask you for basically an approval on the pool date. But when we get there, I'll explain that. Essentially, we've moved into the process of making plans to open up the main city facilities you see listed on your agenda. Each one of them, my recommendation was each one of them should open when appropriate for each one due to the clientele and the nature of the business that they apply for, that takes place. And so in City Hall, we're going to do some renovations to add the plexiglass kind of sneeze guards from the your favorite all-you-can-eat buffets. And so we will be adding those back in just after we took that glass down in the last year. So no good deed, as they say. But we'll do that and make sure that the staff up there is comfortable with the flow. And then probably we'll probably have to designate spots for people to come in case we do get a little backed up. Sometimes on due dates on utility bills and stuff during the lunch hour or something like that, we can get 3 or 4 people in there sometimes. So we'll have to sort through that. But once we're comfortable with that, we will open up City Hall. The municipal building is essentially ready to go. If you were actually in here tonight with us, you would see the renovation that happened. We had adjusted offices. I don't even know if you've been here since this happened. The old recreation department moved to where Tim and the city engineer were. The building inspection office moved to where the rec department was in the front of the building. So Mindy and Tim Dworak are in there together. And where Mindy, the current administrative aide, sits, we have cut out a window with an ADA height countertop, plexiglass window, but it's huge. You walk in and it's like a magnet now. They said they opened it up today just as a soft opening to let some people in and see what happened. And they said people come in the door and they beeline right to that window now versus just wandering around the municipal building like a maze, or having Mindy back in the old copy room where with all the humming servers and all that stuff and basically a closet. And so it's really good. Our recommendation in the budget, you'll see, is to finish that renovation and add a doorway on that side of the building, same side as our current doorway, and then wall off the chamber. And then you would just come into the hall and go right to the window. And then that administrative aide would lead you or follow you through on your business. And we'd add another door just for safety and protection. Really, that's the person that should be being bothered with administrative work and trafficking people through the building while everybody else is taking care of the stuff. It'll be a lot safer and more user-friendly. So they'll probably open up within the week full and announce that. The next one is the Civic Center. The Civic Center board is meeting next week on Monday with a special meeting. And
And in person, it's in person. I was
yes, in person.
told that very emphatically.
Yes, I didn't argue. I knew better. And so they'll having an in-person meeting and they'll go over with Todd Lavelle and the group. And I think Jonathan will be there as well in regards to our plans to open the Civic Center. I believe that plan, I'm having Todd chase down some of the capacities for the rooms because that's important. And then based on all of those capacities in the total building, we may also need approval of Four Corners Health, but Laura's aware of that. So there's this rule in the current DHMs that say basically if you have more than a 500 capacity in your facility, you need to have your local health department approve your plan. But we're going to get all the capacities added up and what is usable and functional. And I think the auditorium is going to make it hard for us, but we'll follow up on that because some rooms will just max out at 25 with 6-foot social distancing. Some of them have like the basement rooms when you open them all up, have a very large capacity. And so we'll probably use 25% of the capacity at this time and make that available. But we need to make sure that the team over there has sufficient time between meetings to go around and sanitize and clean things up and have the proper equipment to do so. So we'll work with them on that and finalize that next week with the potential for opening next week, as long as that's approved and understood by the commission. But we'll continue to work with them. Seward Memorial Library opened up on the 1st, and they have sign-up hours at 2 different sessions throughout the day for different groups. So there's an adult group in the morning looking at our more vulnerable, older patrons. And so that's exclusive to them. You sign up, you come in, there's a specific number that can be in the building at the time. And then the afternoon is for families and children. There's no unaccompanied children, but families and groups like that. And so relatively quiet. I think people have really gotten used to using the drive-through, and we've benefited from that greatly versus other libraries across the state that don't have that ability. So Becky's been good on that and feels comfortable with that as her procedure for now. And then as we continue to adjust out, the numbers open up and the DHMs change, she'll continue to adjust in her phasing. But she's doing a very good job of handling that and keeping the library board abreast of what's going on. The senior center, I've talked to Katrina a number of times, and her plan is to follow Aging Partners in Lincoln. That's kind of one of the main groups we focus with in regards to providing our programming. And they have a measure that's based on some of the specific COVID-related diagnosis, testing results, and things like that. Essentially, we want to see 2 to 3 weeks of flattening out or reduced numbers in Seward County. That was passed on to Laura at the health department, and she'll work with Katrina to inform her when we reach that plateau and are coming off the back of that, and then we'll be able to meet that. But she'll continue to monitor if we continue to see another spike come back up. She'll be reducing a number of her programming. The potato bake's not happening this year at all. She was able to secure some grant funds and things like that to make up that revenue difference. And so this fiscal year, there won't be a potato bake, but unless something drastic changes. But she's got plenty of funding to cover those losses. She's going to limit use of exercise equipment and things like that because it's just too much work for her to keep going in and cleaning up after one person uses the treadmill and then another and another. And we want to be safe. But we'll have meals. We're going to have yoga and other programming while we're there, speakers and things like that. but maintain social distancing in reasonable manners. But she feels confident in that, and then she's working with kind of mimicking Seward County transportation in regards to our senior shuttle and getting that geared up and making sure we can sanitize after every rider in that situation. So feel comfortable with where Katrina's at. And so the final really big one is the pool. And I know we talked about this last time. Essentially, we learned from the last time, we were really hoping for those guidelines. Those guidelines did not come out. And at this point, I want to approach it with the idea that there are not going to be any definitive guidelines going forward from the state at this point. We did receive in the DHMs or right before a capacity number. And so we have a 600 capacity pool, and we're allowed to have 25% of that capacity at a time. So that'd be 150 patrons, not counting staff. I don't know that we'll use that many. We may reduce it, but we want it to be manageable for the staff as they have to process through our plan to get people in and out. But we also learned that Lincoln is opening 5 of their facilities, and we learned today why it's 5. They actually said they can only open 5 because they are not able to certify this year new lifeguards who are completely inexperienced. All we can do is CPR the current ones. And that's an issue for us too, but we have a plan. We're gonna pull a few from the two or three around us that are not opening that we know they've definitively closed. And we're gonna pull some of their lifeguards in that are certified, and we'll just upgrade their CPR for the year. I think that's the plan, talking to Adam. So lifeguards hopefully won't be a problem for us, but again, that's why Lincoln, there's no like ulterior motive to why Lincoln only opened 5. They tried to be strategic in their areas, and then that's how many lifeguards they could support. So they opened those 5. With Lincoln opening, we really feel confident. I talked to Adam, he talked to the pool management staff, and they feel confident that they can operate the pool under the guidelines that we have seen. So that's the CDC guidelines, USA Swimming and Diving guidelines, and some of the stuff that we're seeing Lincoln do. And so I think we're gonna go, we talked before about having reservations and stuff, but with knowing that capacity number now, I think we're just gonna do sessions like Lincoln did. So we may have 2 or 3 sessions a day, about 2 hours approximately. And then everybody leaves, and then we clean up the whole facility for whatever we need to clean and wipe down, take about 30 minutes, and then open a session back up. But we'll figure a way to mark you or note that you came in. So if you come back in for the next session, then you'll get back in. You don't have to repay or anything like that. We'll figure out pool passes and stuff like that. We'll take care of that. But what I really need tonight, and I alluded to this earlier, is what I would like is just a permission from the council to say we will be opening on, and my recommendation would be June 15th or after. That's when Lincoln's opening up. That gives us enough time to signal a direct date potentially to the community, but it also gives us enough time. We're going to start filling that pool tomorrow, but we still need to do all the technical checks on it, the pumps and all that kind of stuff. We cleaned out the pits, but we got to get chemicals balanced and in the pool and all this stuff. And so we may not open it directly on the 15th, but if you give us permission sometime after the 15th, we'll do our best to get it going. And then we'll also work with some of the peripheral groups like water aerobics, and the swimming and diving team may have some interest in a clinic or some other use of the facility. And so we'll also coordinate with them. But we need to get it going now if we're going to do it, and we feel comfortable that things have lined into place. Also, there is a governor's phone call that Adam and I will be on the 17th about pools. But again, I don't think they're going to give us specific guidelines written. It's more of a discussion and a recommendation, I think, is what's coming. I could be surprised. I have been before. But we feel like this will be comfortable. Adam did check in. He's on the line if we do have specific questions for him or any of our staff. We did check in with Lincoln, and they are not going to do waivers. They're strictly going to do temperature checks and then a log book. So you have to sign in, name, phone number, so we can contact you if there was an issue. That's a recommendation of the health department. And so we'll do the same. But that's where we're at. Like I said, I'd like to just get a simple vote for permission to open on June 15th or thereafter. And I can answer any questions you have.
I would move that we open June 15th or after.
And I second.
Moved by Schmidt, second by Coulterman.
All right. Is there any further discussion?
So,
Hey, Greg, what do you think is going to come out of the governor's call on the 17th? He obviously knows Lincoln's opening. They've decided to open. I mean, is it going to be a capacity thing, or if he's addressing pools, what do you expect to be addressed?
I don't know. I read the email from the league today. I don't know if Kelly got it or not. It was pretty blasé. I think what he's going to say is, we're going to leave the capacities alone for the summer. They may be loosened slightly. And we would like you to generate plans for your pools. And if your pools are large enough, you need to run them by your health department, which I think we will. We'll be in that boat. We're going to do that with the Civic Center and the pool probably. But Laura's been incredible about contact. I don't know what else he's going to tell you because
I
again,
think that I don't think he's giving definitive guidance on pools on the 17th. The email I got was there's a conference call with league staff tomorrow with Holly Lewis of Lincoln Parks and Rec.
Who's
That's
like giving guidance.
just talking about best practices for opening the pools.
Okay.
I
so
don't think the governor's next briefing isn't not until June 17th. I don't know that he's going to give any direct guidance on pools.
and maybe I read that wrong. We kind of had a busy afternoon. So that could
But
be
that's
possible.
that's what I read as well, because I read the same email, and it sounds like it's like, oh, here's the best ideas we've heard so far. Good luck.
Yep. I think it's the capacity and to run it by your health department because you have over 500 people capacity, and good luck to you.
Mhm.
And again, I've confirmed with my staff and asked Adam to confirm down with the pool management staff that they feel comfortable. We also did get, not that it's super exciting, but it was delivered on my desk this afternoon. We did get 2 thermal infrared thermometers through the state to give to, we're going to give those to the pool as well. And use those throughout the city for COVID related response. So we have that equipment.
Well, other than getting the pool ready, I think the staff is well ahead of the curve based off our last meeting. You guys seem to have a lot of things thought through, just a matter of fine tuning.
Again, just a commendation to Adam and to Mickey and Lori, everybody down at the pool for, I mean, this has been kind of like chaos and chasing our tails, trying to figure out what's going on and what the new DHM might be and if these magical guidelines were showing up. And so I just commend them for always being on their toes and trying to keep the spirits of the lifeguards up and the people that are like, do I have a job this summer? Do I not? I know that's been tough. So this will really get us going and signal to those people that, yeah, we're moving forward. And again, I can't speak specifically, but I know I've talked to Mayor Kelly in Milford, and their plan was if we did, most likely they were as well. Anything else, Mayor?
If not, no other comments, then we do have a motion and a second, so please call the roll.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Wilkin,
Yes.
Coulterman,
Yes.
Miller. I think that was a yes.
Yes.
Yep. Camperth,
Yes.
Singleton,
Yeah.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
And before we move on, are there any other questions or comments on the other facilities that were mentioned in item 2? If not seeing any, then moving on to item number 3. This is consideration of holding the USSSA Class B tourney July 10th through the 12th, 2020. Greg, you want to update the council on that?
Yeah, as we talked about, I know that we had stated that we weren't going to look at tournaments during the month of June, and our organizations and our teams were fine with that. I met with all of their chief officers on Friday and went through the rules again and our city expectations for them. But Adam did have a call, and I think Brandon is on the line. And so if he wants to speak, Brandon, if you have the ability, and I'll probably unmute you anyways at some point just to check in with you, shoot me a chat on here. But Brandon is one of the people with US AAA in Nebraska that's putting on this event. This was an event that was booked with us over a year ago, I believe. And it's a really large event. They still plan on having it. Brandon can speak more to the number of teams that they have signed up and what's going on with it. But I felt it was justified in us giving them a heads up and making an up or down one way or the other now. So if they do need to move their event, they have an ample amount of time to do so, because it's going to be hard to find another location for this if we cancel it a week before it happens. And so it seemed appropriate to just give them a thumbs up or a thumbs down in the opportunity to do it. We have Bob Core, Adam, and Adam Bodie on the line as well, I believe. And they can speak to what the city's going to do, but I believe in talking to Adam and Bob and preparing for baseball and softball this week, we believe we could provide enough staffing. Obviously, there's going to be a cost associated with that, but we could provide staffing, and we do have the materials and stuff to clean for this. So the cleaning portion of it, the dugouts and the bleachers and the other elements that are touched and used and required to be cleaned up, our staff can prep fields and things like that too. They should be able to do that, but again, there's going to be added cost because normally we would not do that. We wouldn't be out cleaning up bleachers and bathrooms and all these other things on a regular basis for a tournament. And I don't think it's exorbitant. It's probably cheaper than umpires and things like that. But we do need to cover those costs because they're unexpected costs for us. So I can answer any questions. Bob can answer questions. Adam can of the city. And then I may let Brandon just note some details about what they're looking for. And then we need to vote it up or down and be done with it so they can move on one way or another. Any questions for the city?
Greg, who's going to assume these extra costs?
We would, the cost for the extra, like I said, normally we would not have staffing that since it's not our event or our tournament. And so that would be put on usually by the whoever the tournament sponsor is. So if it was Junior Jays or the Softball Association, they would staff that and do those other elements. In this case, we will need to provide it because we need to do those extra elements of cleaning the bathrooms. And we would just want to cover ourselves. We want to know they got done so we can stand up as the city and say, you're using our facilities, but we made sure everything got cleaned the way it was supposed to, as we would do it.
Greg, I just want to point out something. So that would be a change then to the license agreement template that we're using, because I believe that puts that responsibility on the licensee. So is that something that we're going to take on as opposed to having the licensee do that?
Well, we are currently with our Junior Jays teams and Seward teams as we're the provider of those. So if we're comfortable having, and Bob can speak that or Brandon can, because they're putting on events and games everywhere. If the city's comfortable with asking them to do it, then we can do that. It's really your choice, but you need to be comfortable with who we have as being the responsible party. And I know I do have a copy here. It is extensive, and I passed it on to Kelly. We would probably need our waivers still signed, but US AAA also provided us their waivers and all their documentation that they're required to get. I have it here from all of their participants, umpires, coaches, everybody as well. So they're making sure that they're covered. We'll have to get our information covered too, and I think they understand that. They'd still like to use our facility if possible. So.
Greg, how many people would it be total in town?
That's probably a question for Brandon. I'm gonna unmute Brandon. Brandon, you there?
Yep, I'm here.
Brandon, how many teams are you expecting?
So right now, our latest numbers for that weekend is just over 60 teams. So as far as like a, person standpoint, I know with the state tournament, we plan on playing over 3 days. So it'd be all day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So we can kind of spread that schedule out to help keep less people in the park at one given time.
Hey, Greg.
Yes.
And I don't know if you can answer this or not. The tournament itself, I'm just trying to think through the logistics of these teams and warming up, and maybe Brandon can speak to a little bit if they've had any tournaments thus far anywhere. I'm thinking more from a city level. It's Takeout Tuesdays, and my family's been doing that, but we've been going through drive-throughs. I'm thinking of these people going into downtown and wanting to get into our fast food restaurants and whatnot to eat. If there's limitations there, how are we going to handle people getting in and out and managing that amount of influx? I guess, playing ball and having to clean up the field doesn't concern me as much as how are we going to manage these visitors and be able to service them.
I think one of the things we'll have to lean on, and this might be something that Jonathan, you give me a thumbs up if you want to speak to it, but we're going to have to let the businesses know so that they know to have staffing, McDonald's and Runza and Dairy Queen and Cafe on the Square and Spare Time and Fly Dogs, and everybody else is going to have to be aware, and we're going to have to tell them. It might be great. It might be chaos like Runza and Dairy Queen at lunch hour. I don't know. And so that's another question. And if Jonathan, you want to speak to it, you give me a thumbs up there. Yes, there you go.
Just really briefly, yeah. Basically, based on tonight's feedback, we'll start communication next week, so they're prepped. And obviously, they'll need to staff up accordingly. And this will be impacted by DHMs as well on capacity. And so we'll just need to keep in touch with them with our retail restaurant base.
The other one that's a possibility, and we would want to discuss this, but we're seeing it now and it's still going on, is the opportunity to look at having food trucks. Because the other one is that we're not sure that we're going to have full concessions running. Usually those are a concession stand when you have a tournament like this. The Junior J's parents, for instance, of the Junior J tournament, the parents are there. It's a fundraiser. They're selling concessions to make funds for their association. I don't know that US AAA is going to want to do that or take the responsibility for it. They may just want to make sure that we have Gatorades and water available and the minimal stuff, and not have a gigantic extravaganza going on down there. Brandon can speak to that more. The other possibility is also bringing in or requesting to see if any food trucks that we would normally see in Seward would want to also come into town on that weekend to assist in covering some of that need.
Would it be easy to still do a concession type of thing, and whoever wants to take advantage of it, but ask Runza if they want to partake and sell so many Runzas that they make that they take there, so that we can utilize still our local businesses as opposed to pulling food trucks in? Do you get where I'm?
It's quite possible. It's just logistical. If they think that they can pull it off and do a concession stand down there and meet the expectations, and also how do we do it fairly? Do we just ask US AAA to organize it? Then it's not our problem, just like we would with any other tournament, and the city's not involved. If the city offers it up or tries to organize it, we kind of have to make sure that we give a fair shake to everybody. So that's the concern there. And the food truck one, that it's anybody that wants to come down there and has the ability to do so, then it's on them. Or
from a legal standpoint, the more of those things that you can put on the licensee, the better. That's going to protect the city from a legal standpoint.
So,
and to kind of speak for what I was thinking of doing as far as the concessions go, I was probably just going to keep it pretty light. Your Gatorades, your waters, maybe a few candy bars, and that's about it. Nothing too crazy with the guidelines and stuff. I don't want to, have my staff worrying about too much, but also still have something there. But I think most people were encouraging teams not to hang around the ballpark in between games. So like what other states have been doing in Missouri, for example, they've been just like, yep, okay, your game's over, kind of have your talk after and, go hang out somewhere else or go back home or whatever you're going to do instead of them hanging out at the ballpark. So I don't want to do a big concession stand to give them a reason to stay. I'd rather them go and, if they're hitting up a drive-through or if they have enough time to just go home for some of the teams that are closer, I think that would be better from our standpoint. I don't want to do anything crazy as far as a concession stand goes.
And Brandon, another question for you. If the city does put it on you to be in charge of cleaning and disinfecting and those things, and we just monitor, do you have any issue with that?
No, I don't. If it's something that, and even when it comes to the ballpark itself, if you want to put us responsible for doing the cleaning, that's fine. Obviously, if you guys can help provide the proper equipment to do so, then that would be awesome. Just that way we're on the same page. We're using the proper stuff to disinfect everything. But I know I've spoke with Adam a little bit about it. If it's something that's what you guys want us to do, I have no problem having my staff do that and learn the proper way that you guys want that done. If that helps you guys out, I'm here to help you guys in any way, shape or form to ease your burden. So that's something that my staff, they've been begging me to work all summer. So if it means they get to work for a weekend and they got to do some extra cleaning, I don't think they're going to mind.
Other questions of the council for Bob and Adam, or for Brandon with you, SSSA or administration?
And Bob, I assume we'd be using all fields, right?
Yeah, we'll use 6 of the 7 fields. We won't use the Legion field, but yeah, we'll use all 6 fields.
Any other questions or comments from the council? If not, we entertain a motion.
I have one more question. Where do we anticipate all these teams going in Seward during times that they're not playing? If you're talking 60 teams, I don't know how many would be in town at a time or how many people that would be, but I guess just sending them off, I guess I'm not quite sure what we can expect to happen.
I'm guessing, go ahead, Jonathan.
Yeah, I'm realizing that with that amount of teams, we're going to have a larger logistical conversation with our businesses. And so I think probably putting some sort of form together that would help inform teams about where places to go are. So we're trying to spread people out as opposed to them hitting the very obvious drive-throughs. I mean, in some sense, obviously they're going to frequent businesses in Seward, but as teams maybe have time, maybe they would go out to Shea Bubba or something like that to spread people out across the county. So I think the sense is with 60 teams, you have hundreds of people. We want to make sure there's not just log jams at very specific places. So we're going to try to communicate accordingly. We'll work on marketing materials for that.
Yeah, I think Ellen's comment goes beyond just the food aspect of it, and maybe Brandon can speak to how a tournament is run and how teams flow through the bracketology of it. Because when I'm not playing a game, but I got to play 3.5 hours later, where am I hanging out for 3.5 hours?
I'm not a baseball parent, but don't a lot of them kind of bring like picnic stuff and, some of them just like kind of go to parks and things like that. I mean, that's what my sister and her kids do when they have tournaments.
And that is it, Jessica, and I don't know how you read the directive health measures related to this and not hanging around the fields. I mean, are we going to designate the fairgrounds? Where are we going to have these people go?
That's what we have a lot of different parks, so wouldn't they just kind of, naturally spread out? Or do you think they just all stay in one place?
I think that the major concern is moving them out of the sports complex on the Lower East Side entirely. And then, because we're going to use the soccer fields and the t-ball fields and the extra space, there's going to be a map provided, and they'll have assigned warm-up areas because we're required to give them one. So if you're playing on field 6 and you're the home team, you're at assigned warm-up area 6. Things like that. That's some of the logistical stuff that Adam's working on. So that will eat up all of the sports complex. And then obviously, probably we're going to close the playground most likely, and then everything north of the playground, including the ball fields, the east and west field, and also the tennis courts and probably the concession stand and bathrooms. That will be the other portion of the no-go zone. I think that gigantic green space back behind Plum Creek, back by the Legion Field, that's a great place to spread out and have a picnic and do things like that. We'll recommend Centennial Park, the fairgrounds we may talk to, since we got a lot of stuff not really going on down there. And so they need places to go or hang out and tailgate on a truck bed or something and talk for a bit.
Jonathan, do you think you could put together like a list of all the public green spaces and, you know, all that as well, you know, Independence Landing, whatever, just include it all?
Yeah, we do actually have a piece through the visitors committee that marks all those places. So lodging, retail, restaurant, you know, places that people could park up to RVs, that sort of stuff.
Perfect.
In our campground, a lot of softball, baseball tournaments, they'll bring in, not a lot, but a lot of them will bring their RVs and stuff and camp for the weekend, knowing it's a 3-day. So, you know, having our campground will help too. I know not all 60 teams are going to camp, but knowing that that's a way for them to get away for 2-3 hours too, to go back to the camper, get out of the hot sun or whatever, and then come back when they're scheduled to play again. So the campground will be a big asset for us too. If we can work something out with the fairground to use their camping facilities like they do for the fair or something, might be something we could look at too, doing something like that.
Yeah, and that all sounds good. The things that we need, if we're going to move forward with this, we need to get in the hands of Brandon so he can get it out to the team so that they can be prepared.
Yep. Other questions we can answer?
Brandon, have you gauged interest of the teams that would be coming, that they're still interested in playing?
Yeah, I would say that they're all, for the most part, pretty much as interested as they can get. I know a lot of teams are traveling to other states right now to play, especially since the governor came out and said they don't have to self-quarantine anymore. So there's a lot of the more competitive teams that are doing that. I have a few other events throughout the summer that, like I've got one the very first opening weekend, and I sold out of that right away, and I have a 20-team wait list. So they're definitely ready to play, especially with it being a state tournament. I think they're definitely going to be a little bit more committed to that than they would just a regular event. But I definitely think they're interested, but they're willing to do what we need them to do to make it work. So if it's the waivers, if it's the you know, designated areas for them to go, they're going to be cooperative as possible. Just as long as they get to play, that's all they're going to care about.
Brandon, what are some of the communities you have events coming up in before ours is scheduled?
So I have an event in Fremont. So that's just it'd be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's that opening weekend. We have, as a U-Trip organization, we have tournaments setting up in Beatrice. We have a few in Omaha as well that are set to be before that event. And then I have some events in the month of July as well. In York is where I'm slotted for the other 3 weekends in July.
Yeah, and I know I talked to Barry, the city administrator in York today, and it sounded like they were trying to work out their facility as well and trying to figure that out.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. All right.
So is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to move forward with the proposal.
I'll second.
I'm going to go with moved by Coulterman, second by Schmidt.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Beck,
No.
Wilkin,
Yes.
Coulterman,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Camprith,
Yes.
Singleton,
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-1.
All right, next item number 4 is resolution amending fees for sale of wood chips. Greg?
Yes, and we talked about this last time briefly. We got some clarification on it. We think it's pretty simplistic now. Just some minor changes in there. Let me make sure I got the right page here in my pocket. This is going to be, we didn't adjust or recommend any adjustment to the fees. Really what we did was arrangements for pickup of wood chips shall be made through the street department. When excess wood chips are available and not reserved for city use, as we currently have, citizens may load wood chips manually free of charge. So we clarified that because that was always the policy. If you come down, Betty Jean comes down with her bucket and gets a bucket of wood chips, we didn't bother her. We let her do it. So if they're using their own hand tools, the use of private machinery to load wood chips is prohibited. If you're using machinery down on our property, like a bobcat or something, we want to do that for safety purposes and whatnot. And then the commercial resale of wood chips is prohibited. And I want to make a clarification on that so everybody understands. That means the actual charge for wood chips. Now, again, if I go pick up a load of wood chips, I'm a commercial person, I go down there and the city charges me $20 to load up a pickup, and I take it to your house and I dump it and I spread it around for you as a landscape person. As long as I'm not charging you for the wood chips, but I'm charging you for the labor and the hauling, I don't know that we can get around that. And so, but we don't want to see people just charging for wood chips straight up. So it's kind of a logistical issue, but we did talk to some people that do it. One of them was specifically, he's a tree board member, he didn't care, but was Larry Goldsmith. We talked to Larry because Larry also dumps at the Horseshoe. And so one of the specific questions we asked Larry was, well, Larry, are you going back and getting your own? And he goes, no, I never ever gone back there to pick up. He goes, that's too complicated for me. He said that if I chip up and I know I have somebody that needs wood chips, I chip up, I put them in my truck, and I go straight from that job to the location I need to dump them and drop them off. And he goes, I just have a roving list. And so as I get people that need them, I have a list. And when I'm available, I call them up and say, hey, I got chips today. I'm coming over and dumping in your driveway. So Larry does not go load there. And so that was something we had talked about. The fee charge, and then it just goes, the fee charge for city employees to load wood chips shall henceforth be and hereby fixed. And then from there on, it's exactly how we had it before. But this gives the specific clarification that, one, if you're doing it by yourself manually with the shovel and you're just throwing them in the back of your truck, that's fine. Free of charge. We don't want to see your machinery down there. If you need them loaded with machinery, contact us, pay the fee, and then we'll get you taken care of. So I think this clarifies everything, and I talked to Bob Myers from the street department, and he was good with how we arranged this. So I think this will take care of it and clean it up. Any questions?
I'll introduce the resolution.
Introduced by Schmidt.
Yes. The resolution has been introduced and is designated as resolution number 2020-25. Would anyone like to move that this resolution be passed and adopted?
Move to approve. Singleton.
I actually saw Wilkin first, I think. So I'm going to go with that one. Is there somebody who wants to do a second?
Singleton seconded.
Oh, there we go. All right. Moved by Wilkin, second by Singleton.
All right. We have a motion and a second. Please call the roll.
Schmidt,
Yes.
Beck,
Yes.
Wilkin,
Yes.
Coulterman,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Camprith,
Yes.
Singleton,
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next, we have the city administrator's report.
I believe my report's in your packet. The only update I will give you is, one, we've been doing a great job of filling we had a lot of vacancies right now for a number of reasons. We're almost at 15% of our full-time employment was open. And so we have a lot of appointments and hirings that you'll see over the next few days, and finishing up interviews for 2 new police officers, not new, but filling vacant positions. And so we'll get all those wrapped up here shortly, knock on wood. So we're excited about that. And then obviously you saw the news of the day. I think most of you did. If you saw my email, in light of the recent incident in Minnesota, and then obviously we've seen what's taken place in Omaha and Lincoln in the last few days. We tonight had a peaceful protest, knock on wood again. They may still be out there going as we speak. But we had a peaceful protest that was organized late today. I received notification of it real early in the afternoon. We put together the police department and the sheriff's office and the command staff. They were contacted shortly after it hit social media by the organizers and asked to attend and be a part of it. And both the police department and sheriff's office said, yes, we would love to attend, and we'll be down there to help out. And so they did that. And so we just followed through with our normal kind of an incident command. But, you know, when we're involving this much and there's concern for safety and safety of the public and everything else, we wanted to make sure that we had an event that could take place and that we didn't have any incidents. And so I want to commend Chief Baldwin and his staff and Sheriff Mike Vance and his staff. Did an incredible job so far today, and hopefully those that are down there will be able to peacefully protest and try to get their message out there in a safe manner, and that we can wrap up the evening and go from there. But the mayor and I and a number of council members came through at different points. A lot of community leaders and stuff stopped by. I think someone came down, a citizen, and bought pizza for everyone down there. And the protesters in the sheriff's office went over and picked that up and shared in a meal together. We did block off Seward Street because we just wanted to have an area, if we did see some large numbers, that we had an area for them to expand into. And I think by about 6 o'clock, 6:30, they got into more of the chants, and then they started kind of marching, but very safely around the perimeter on the sidewalk of the courthouse square, staying out of the roadways and things like that. So hopefully they remain doing that. Obviously, when this meeting's over, we'll go back in and check in with our command staff, see what's going on over there. But everything that we saw, no incidents, no issues. People were very respectful. Got to see, obviously, conversations take place between maybe some of the law enforcement and those in our community. And for the most part, we had a lot of people that know people in the community. I know Dr. Fields stopped down for a while, and there was a large contingency of Sewardites. Again, one of our concerns is just that maybe contingency or people would come from another community, other communities, for whatever reasons. And we would say that we had enough people down there. We were identifying that a mass majority of the people that were involved were people from Seward and Seward County. So, Mayor, you were there with me. I don't know if you have anything to add to it in regards to what took place this evening, but.
No, I think it other than not having a lot of notice to get organized, other than that, I think it was fine. And at least while we were there, things went pretty smoothly and without incident. So we'll see. Our priority was just making sure everyone was safe.
Yep. I can answer any questions you have about the event tonight, things going on, or anything else that was in my report.
So, Greg, the 11th, we won't be able to do the municipal building for the 911.
We'll need to figure that out again. We have a board of adjustment. We have a request for a variance. That's a Zoom meeting. And so if I need to adjust that's a public hearing though. And so we gave notice and advance notice in the paper of that public hearing. So we need to review that public hearing. And if we can't have it at the municipal building, again, your contingency with E911 is far larger than the city council too. And so to maintain 6-foot social distancing, we may have to find another venue. But we can potentially look at the library, that big meeting room on the top. Also the Civic Center by that point should be open as well. So we just need to talk to, I mean, you're the chair, council member, so you make the call on what you want to do. But we put out legal notice for that public hearing, and I need to verify if we said that the municipal building would be used at that time for that meeting. So.
Okay, if it doesn't work, we might be able to do the fire station if we need to do that.
Okay. So just make sure
Cool
Barb
thought.
knows, so she puts out the notice in advance, more than 24 hours in advance, and notes the location. So.
Okay, if you need it, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Yep, sounds good. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Greg?
The only other question I have is, are we going to do our next meeting Zoom or in person, or have you thought that far ahead?
I will work with the mayor. Most likely the next meeting will be on Zoom, just because this is so much fun. Let's have a last hurrah. I mean, maybe we need to all get backgrounds, right, Carl? We all need to get backgrounds
Can you
have
teach us? You could
a
teach us,
background
Carl.
off or something. But come July, we need to have a firm plan whether we need to meet at another location so that we can space out properly, and plan to have members of the public with us, an appropriate amount of spacing for them if they do decide to attend a meeting, and then get that plan implemented and get reservations in place, either at the Civic Center or otherwise. I just don't know with social distancing and putting you guys in place. And again, we'll leave it to the determination of the mayor. I think he'll confirm or talk to Chris as well as council president, and we'll make sure we have a plan in place for you. But let's plan on Zoom for one last meeting. And maybe the mayor will just tell us all what we're going to do, and that'll be the end of it.
So I think at that point, can we have it at Carl's venue? It looks like it's pretty big.
Get right on that. Got the travel budget for it, I guess.
That reservation fee is going to be expensive. So, again, other than that, I can answer any other questions you have on the administrator's report.
Move to accept the administrator's report.
We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second.
Moved by Schmidt, second by Camprith.
Please call the roll.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Beck.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
Coulterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Camprith.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Do we have any future requests for council agenda items or administrative action? Not seeing any. Jonathan, you're still with us. Do you have anything to announce for upcoming events?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Just a few things. Our team was fortunate to offer the free gallon containers of hand sanitizer to give away to Seward County organizations and businesses. Over the last 2 weeks, we've been able to give away 400 gallons of hand sanitizer. I want to say just a special thanks to the City of Seward's Public Works Department for generously helping us move hand sanitizer pallets with their forklift. We don't have a forklift, and they were very generous to help, so we're grateful for that. And Bob Myers and his team were very helpful, so shout out to them. We just finished our second round of business impact surveys, and in response to the survey data about concerns around consumer demand, we're wanting to raise awareness about businesses reopening in Seward County. We're coordinating a back in business marketing campaign this week to help customers know that companies are open and ready for them to shop, eat, drink, and do business locally. Another effort will be Drive Seward Sunday on Sunday, June 7th, which will be similar to a cruise night that has been happening in other communities in Nebraska. We're working with the Seward Police Department to keep them up to date on the preferred route. This is an attempt to keep local consumers aware of businesses reopening and encouraging grabbing food and drink at local restaurants. Monday, June 15th will be a virtual Seward County Planning Commission meeting open house for their comprehensive planning process. Council members and the public are welcome to participate to provide input on the county's comprehensive planning efforts. More information will be shared in the near future via Blue River Buzz and other public meetings postings. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. Thank you, Jonathan. Next, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second by Singleton.
Moved by Schmidt, second by Singleton.
All right. Please call the roll.
Schmidt.
Yes.
Beck.
Yes.
Wilkin.
Yes.
Coulterman.
Yes.
Miller.
Yes.
Camprith.
Yes.
Singleton.
Yes.
Hendricks.
Yes, please.
All right.
Motion
thank
passes.
you all. Thank you all and have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thanks.